Welcome to another edition of Taking Five with Phil from Fighting Irish Preview. I'm Jesse Craig, the webmaster, here with Phil Houck, the senior editor and writer for Fighting Irish Preview, brought to you by Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. Where you bank does matter. Phil, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Had a good weekend, I thought, in Pittsburgh. Good weekend for the Irish and good hospitality there from those folks. I'm not so sure they felt like Notre Dame returned the courtesy though, by the way that they just absolutely took Pitt out of that game from the very start, and it was a good day for Notre Dame.
Well, as you know, I was almost dead for the weekend. But when I finally caught up on the game, there was one thing that we didn't talk in our little pregame here about the end of the game handshake. Uh, Nobody's really talking about it too much, but there was some salt there. I saw Freeman pull his arm away pretty quick, like he was ending the conversation on a pretty stern note.
Well, my sense is that Marcus actually maybe felt a little bad about that. He knows that it's not about him. It's not about Narduzzi. Narduzzi's going to be Narduzzi, has been for years. Calling that timeout, I mean, at the end, so he could get a meaningless touchdown when the game is. Oh, I mean, it just, and the things that he had said the week before, how Notre Dame doesn't matter, and and how negative he's been over the years about Notre Dame not being in a conference. Uh, but it was interesting. And afterwards, he said he was asked about that. Marcus Freeman was asked about it, and he uh, he just said, "No, I'm not really concerned about what they're doing. You know, I don't have time to. I'm just focused on my own team." And I thought that there were I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but there were some comments in the Monday press conference that indicated that maybe he felt that maybe he should have hugged him after the game instead to make Pat Narduzzi feel better. But I'll tell you what, I've really felt that considering Pat Narduzzi had said that, this game really didn't matter, I thought his fans took their cue from him because they were virtually silent starting about 2 minutes into the game, and they were gone by halftime. So they didn't care
Yep.
about the game either.
Yeah, it's a shame that game day came out and the people bailed that quick, and really it was the game could have gotten more out of control than what it did. Let's be honest here. A 37 to 9 score wouldn't even have done it justice as far as how I saw just the competitive and talent difference between the two teams.
You're
Notre Dame
right.
was playing fast, but let's go ahead and jump in to the initials of what we're going to talk about. So we had discussed that we were going to talk about how the defense is playing uh, right now, this time of year, considering all the questions that led into the season with the first two losses. Is this a championship caliber defense, Phil?
Oh yeah, yeah. This defense is playing. I mean, all kudos. I think, I already have apologized to Chris Ash, I think, publicly on this show for what we were thinking about 2 months ago, because he's got this defense playing as well as anybody in the country right now. And it's not just that secondary, which we knew was going to be good. It's not just those linebackers. That defensive front, they're getting pressure on the quarterback without having to blitz or to bring backers or anybody else. Although they do that, of course, too, in pass rush passing situations. But it's all working well. Uh, there were in that game. There were 14 hurries of the quarterback by that Notre Dame defense. That's an extraordinary number, and that's Pro Football Focus number, I believe.
50% of his dropbacks, he was under pressure.
Yeah, there you go. And
50%.
I would have actually thought it might have been more than that, but yeah, that's a lot. 0 for 13 on third down. Pitt, let me repeat that. Pitt was 0 for 13 on third down. I mean, that's absolute futility at a level that you never hear. this defense has so many players playing so well. Tay Johnson. We talk about him. I think we've talked about him 3 or 4 times already on this show. Uh, what a star in the making that kid is.
He's got that
Don Shu.
Xavier Watt feel for the game.
Well, he does, and but that's not to mention how good Don Schuler is. There are two safeties there, Jesse, that are playing at a high level, a complimentary level as well. Don Schuler had two standout plays in the game. On the first drive of the game, he laid a hit. If you remember this, I think it was the first drive of the game, but he put a hit where he separated the football from a pass receiver on a key third. I think that was a third down play, and that really set a tone. Then, of course, when Pitt finally broke through in the second half and scored their only touchdown of the day until the last one, I don't even count that, but their first touchdown of the day. Uh, and then, of course, Schuler intercepts the 2-point conversion attempt and returns it 107 yards. He's just a tremendous playmaker on the level of, and these guys are young. I mean, Schuler's only in his second year, and this is Tay's first year. He's a redshirt freshman. So great. Yeah, this is the kind of defense that can keep you in any football game against any team in the nation. If Notre Dame can just straighten out a few things on that offense, I think it is a championship caliber team.
Well, that leads me into number two, um, the offense.
I did that on purpose to lead you into number
I
two.
know. I picked up on the cues, even in my illness state. I can still pick up on the cues, Phil.
What a
Um,
trooper. Let's go, man.
the short yardage game, and even we can talk about short yardage red zone too, because it's been all year long. And it seems like the play calls are getting second guessed, and they're making calls that just aren't working to get us over the hump. But we have all of these stellar players that should be very effective either in short yardage red zone passing or rushing. Either one should be significantly easy. I don't see much. I want to point out one play. It was the kind of like short out fade route to Rairdon that for the first touchdown potentially that was missed. The CJ Carr missed the pass on. Why aren't we putting him up in the middle towards the back of the end zone and letting him use his 6'7" to catch a high ball that's out of the defender's reach? Why are we not doing that?
Uh, don't know. I think the concept of going against a heavy formation where they're expecting you to do something between the tackles and getting the ball out on the edge works a lot of times, but nobody bid on the play action on that play. And so, I mean, there's just something wrong with the operation. There's my suspicion is this: Mike Denbrock's a really smart guy, right? It's not like we're the only ones in the world that know they have short yardage. In fact, well, everybody's talking about it. Uh, Gosh, I wish I could repeat the numbers, but it's something like 31 times they've entered the had goal to goal situations, first and goal, and they've only scored 24 of those times. Now 24 sounds like a lot, but on 31 attempts, you got to score every time practically in that situation. A couple of fumbles, a couple of outs on downs, a couple of interceptions. And but anyway, my point is, I think Denbrock's a smart guy. I think they're working on a package right now that they don't really want to have to unveil now until a playoff run. That I I just sense that as a possibility. I don't know anything, but man, Tyler Buckner, let him get him in there and run on the gold line. Uh, go heavy with get a fullback in there for heaven's sakes to throw a pass. You did see the one running score by CJ Carr, and
Sure.
that's worked a couple of other times this season where he runs that little quarterback draw out of the and he's got J Love up there. J Love,
Great
for all he
blocker.
does, which is extraordinary. And I know we're going to talk about him a little bit more. He's a good blocker, and he's done that a couple of times. Let him lead you up into the hole and just get into the end zone. Let's go. It's. I have three. There are three things that I want to see Notre Dame do against Syracuse, and I'm going to reveal the other two as we move on here, because I know we're going to also talk about those. But one thing that Notre Dame has to do this week is be perfect in short yardage situations. That is just one. If they can get that situation figured out, they're or they're one third of a way because there's two other things they got to do this week to being a championship caliber football team. Because we've already talked about the defense.
Right. It breaks my heart to see those seven missed opportunities, like you mentioned, out of the 33 or whatever the nine missed opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, when you got guys like Fields that can go up over any defender and make a play, you got Rairdon that can go up over any defender. That's if you want to throw the ball. And then you got the backs that you got. It doesn't make it doesn't make logical sense that that's the outcome.
A part there, you also have to figure that part of the issue here has to do with being three of your best linemen are not playing. Charles Jagasaw, it started then. That guy was going to be able to open a hole anytime he wanted to. Then, of course, Ashton Craig goes down with the season-ending injury at center. He was arguably your next best lineman of the five. And then third, Billy Schroff is on the shelf right now. Now he's going to probably be back, but not this week and probably not next week. But he'll be back for a playoff run. Schroff was playing as well as anybody on that line and could be counted on to really move some bodies and create some space on the goal line when he went down against Southern Cal a few weeks ago. So three guys are down now. The other guys are playing well, but are not playing great.
Right. Well, hopefully, I mean, these next two games should be games where you can kind of poke and prod and see where you're going to be most effective.
Yeah.
If we are lucky enough to get to a playoff run, we won't even talk about that today.
Okay. Remember though, number one, I said this week against Syracuse, three
Yep.
things. Number one
Short
is
yardage.
short yardage. Show that you got that situation under control. Just be perfect in that situation to gain a little confidence.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and jump into Well, yeah, we'll jump into Syracuse now since we're already there and we've gotten number one before I forget what number one is. So we got Syracuse coming up this week. They're basically a hospital ward. Uh, our former QB that's won us a couple games or been a key part in some big wins, Steve Angeli, left, I think, game 3 of the year, got injured for the year, game 3 or game 4, was looking really, really good for them. Actually, like Heisman-esque type numbers he was putting up for Syracuse. But he's out, and what do we expect him this week?
Well, here's what happened with Angeli. I mean, it was in game 4 actually, and it was against Clemson. Steve Angeli at that point in time, and I remember talking to you about this at the time, was leading the country in passing. And they ended up beating Clemson in that game, which was an upset at that time, and they went to 3-1 on the season. Angeli tears his Achilles tendon in that game. Sad, 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 because we know that everybody liked Steve Angeli and hated to see him go, but it was understandable why he did leave Notre Dame for his graduate season. Well, they're 3-1 at that point. Syracuse is 3-1. They haven't won since.
Mm-mm.
They've lost every game since. They're 3-7. They've lost 6 in a row. I think the number is in the last 6 games, they've only scored 70 points. I mean, talk about futility. There's just not a lot there. Steve Angeli had really brought them something that they haven't been able to replace. They do have a transfer quarterback who's actually brought in because they thought he was going to be the guy, not Steve Angeli, kid from and I'm drawing a blank, but he's from Alabama and Casillas or something like that. He has not done the trick at all. Yeah, this is a team in disarray, offense and defense. They're 3-7. I suppose, and when you say that they got a lot of injuries, that means they're a wounded animal. Well, what's most dangerous in this world? Nothing's more dangerous than a wounded animal, but I don't think they got enough to be able to beat on the field with Notre Dame this week. It's a very winnable game for the Irish.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of common assessment going forward. Nobody's really going to give Notre Dame too much credit if they win the next two games, even if it's impressively. So you had two more check marks that you wanted to see on the criteria for this game.
Well, let one of those was a combo thing, and first of all, and it fits good in this category, but I know there's going to be another category we talk about but I'll give you one of the other it's a combo one. First, Eli Rairdon needs to get into the end zone. He is a huge weapon, but we haven't gotten him into the end zone. So I want to see that happen because then that he becomes that much more of a weapon that other teams have to respect. I think they do respect him, but score a touchdown, please. And I want to see Notre Dame defense pitch a shutout. And that could happen this week. Now, things happen in games where you run to a big early lead, and then the second and third teamers are in at the end, and somebody scores in garbage time. By the way, don't say that in front of Marcus Freeman. He doesn't like it when you call it garbage time,
Right.
and I kind of understand. I don't like it either, but unfortunately, I said it. But that's the other. I want that's category number three that I want to see happen. I want to see Notre Dame pitch a shutout. I think that would be great for the defense to really signal to the rest of the country, hey, there's something going on in South Bend. But also, let's get Eli Rairdon raised to another level so other teams have to respect him. That's category two, and we can move on to another category.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not too much more time to spend on Syracuse. No offense to any Orangeman folks
Let's
that
talk.
are
Let's talk
watching.
about the kicking situation.
Okay, yeah, it is a situation. That is an understatement. We were talking a little bit earlier. There's been a couple times in the last 2 weeks where I thought Freeman was like I thought towards the end of the game he was going to try to get 2 weeks ago he was going to try to get Schmidt on the field for kind of a long field goal at the end of the game. There was a penalty that it never ended up happening. They just ended up kneeling out the clock, and then last week or this past Saturday against Pitt, it was 4th and 3 on maybe like the 27, 25, somewhere around there. And Notre Dame ended up going for it when I thought it was a great opportunity to try to do something to get some confidence in the kid. What's going on there?
Well, Marcus Freeman kind of explained that in his Monday press conference. He says, "Hey, going into the game, we've got a game plan, and we follow. If we're at a certain point, and the analytics tell us that we should go for it in this situation, we go for it." So, what that means, though, is he wasn't willing to show a little flexibility to see what you and I see here, and that is you got to build the confidence of your kicker, which I think might have been a better idea than just simply follow the analytics, which say, hey, there's a really good chance if you go for it here, you're going to make it, and then ultimately score 7 points as opposed to three. Uh, because yeah, that's a problem, and that's the third key here that I think Notre Dame needs to do in this game against Syracuse. Again, a very winnable game is kick the ball through the uprights for a field goal. Notre Dame they are 5 of 9 for the season. I think it's 5 of 9 in field goal attempts. It's stunning how futile that ability for a major team, one of the best teams in the country, that you can't kick field goals. And I know that Burnett's been hurt, but every other team in the country's got another guy that can kick a 35-yard field goal, but not Notre Dame. So this week, let's see one. Eric Farmer, let's get one through the uprights or maybe two. And boy, we can stop having to worry about this so much. Fix those two things. That's two things I want fixed in the defense or the offense. I want short yardage perfection this week, and I want to kick a field goal. Is that asking for that much?
Well, remember going into the playoffs last year, our kicking game was a little bit iffy too because of injury. Ended up becoming a strength uh, in the playoffs,
Or it paid
actually.
off.
It paid off. It did pay off. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, but it is not encouraging because we've seen three guys total this year so far, and none of them have exuded confidence in their ability to make a big field goal if needed when there's
No.
little time on the clock.
No,
Um,
that's gonna both of those things can or will bite you in the playoffs. Either inability to convert in first and goal situations, or just fourth and one situations, or your inability to kick a field goal under 40 yards. I mean, just kick a third. You've got to be able to kick up to 40 yards almost automatically. And Notre Dame doesn't have either of those two things. Uh, and those things will bite you in the playoffs.
Well, let's jump to somebody that does exude confidence on the field and inspires confidence on the field. There's a lot of talk and a lot of highlight sharing, especially after that spin move versus Pitt about Jeremiah Love. Now there's been talk all year about him being the best running back in college football, and running backs just don't typically win the Heisman. What do we got to do to give him a chance to actually take that trophy home?
How about him nailing a couple of 200-yard performances in his last two games and maybe scoring three touchdowns in each one? I think with his spin move perfection, the 56-yarder against Pitt, that he solidified his invitation to New York City for the ceremony. And I just have felt, I've sensed, I've got a pretty good feel for this stuff. A little bit more of the sediment coming around for Jeremiah Love. Uh, Fernando Mendoza will probably win it if IU beats Ohio State. He may win it anyway, but if Ohio State does beat IU in the conference championship, the Big Ten championship, uh, I think all bets are off, and I think Jeremiah Love is a legit contender. That move that he made in that game was just absolute perfection. Uh, I compared it to a hockey pivot on fresh ice. I mean, it just was perfect. And his timing was perfect. He came out of the spin perfectly, and he wasn't going at an angle. He did complete 360 yards degrees and was going exactly the direction he needed to go. It's just spectacular.
Despite the beauty of the actual play that Jeremiah made, my favorite part of any clip you see is when you see number 23, the safety from Pitt, run into his own guy behind him. I love that. That he did that to USC last year too against USC. There's poor Ramsey, number 7 for USC, one of their secondary guys. Jeremiah Love has made a highlight reel just to put him on posters, but there's in that game, Ramsey ended up knocking into one of his own guys as Jeremiah split him.
He's a special, special player, and this is maybe the last time we get to see him in Notre Dame Stadium this week.
You say maybe,
Maybe. Well, you can get it. You may get he's definitely going to the NFL, but there's a chance we might get a playoff game at home. So
right? Fair enough. And what was topic number 5 that we were going to jump into
I
this
I
week?
think we covered five.
We got all 5 done. Wow. See, the brain is still in a fog. Can't even keep up.
You're a young guy. Get used to it.
Gosh, I'll try. I do want to just mention something real quick. The way that, like, after the Alabama loss, the way that all these 10-2 teams are, it's kind of lining up, and all the complainers from the ACC about Miami, if Miami's 10-2 and Notre Dame gets in over them, but Miami doesn't even make their conference championship. Uh, I mean, I know Notre Dame doesn't play a conference championship. There's an uneasy feeling I have that if everything plays out imperfectly, that we do not make the playoffs because they're going to look at that head to head with Miami. That's why I'm really rooting for USC to beat Oregon this week as well,
Yeah.
because that'll be interesting to see if they see USC at 10-2, Notre Dame at 10-2, Miami at 10-2. Notre Dame beat USC, USC beats Oregon, Miami just beats Notre Dame, but they really don't have anybody else too crazy on their schedule
Yeah.
if you look through that ACC. But
Oh,
we'll see how.
there are a zillion scenarios out there, and there's a 10% of them would not be good for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is not a lock to get in at 10-2, so they need to continue to take care of business. They got to stack two more wins, and they got to do it with some style points to leave no doubt. And there could be some things happen. You know who else needs to lose? Michigan needs to lose, or else
Well,
they're another 10-2 team. that wouldn't be going to the conference championship. So,
But
I mean, it,
USC beat Michigan and we beat USC.
yeah, but
So,
that's another 10-2 team. I mean, there's just so many machinations here, and it's why all season long, and I was guilty as anybody back week 2. Well, would a 10-2 team that get into the into it? I don't know. How can we project this? We can't project it now, here in week 12 or whatever we're in, whether a 10-2 team is going to get in. So it's dicey, it's interesting, it's fun, and it's why we love college football. Let's keep watching.
well, I also want to point out they need to kind of address the G5 situation too. Like if there's a G5 team that's going to get in, it has to meet certain stipulations. None of these G5, while it's fun to watch them all compete and like kind of stumble over each other, none of these G5 teams
Not this year.
are not this year are worth seeing in the playoffs against a 5 seed.
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
I'm not sure how you fix that, other than you could have the stipulation that they have to be one of them has to be in the top 25, huh? I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
well, not even that. Like I'd say it has to be in the top 20
So,
because let's look, Navy's at the top of the ACC or the American Conference right now, and we smoked Navy. And anybody of Notre Dame's caliber would likely smoke
yeah,
Navy. It's just that's just the facts of the matter.
yeah.
Uh,
Boise was the team last year, and Boise was legit.
well, and they had a Heisman candidate on their
And they
team.
had, well, they did a guy who probably should have won the Heisman, but uh, Boise was legit this year. Nobody has really been able to take control of that last position. Now, the group of 5 team that goes in this year is not guaranteed one of the top seeds. I think I'm saying that correctly, or a bye in the first round. So that did change, but nonetheless, nobody has really differentiated themselves enough or separated from the pack to show that they belong in that final 12.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with everything moving forward. Phil, thanks for pulling me up out of the bed. I appreciate it. For Phil Hauk and Fighting Irish Preview, I'm Jesse Craig, and this has been Taking 5 with Phil, and we'll see you all next time.